Hi YouTube, it's Tempest. Not usually my normal location for videos or anything. I'm actually in my regular room as opposed to being in the common room of my floor or any of that fun place. So, I'm here to discuss upcoming changes to various metas. The Yu-Gi-Oh ban list is coming out well, it's already out. It hasn't completely been official yet. I'm waiting for my friend. Has this thing he does where he goes on Twitter, and apparently one of the Konami advisors or special people has their own Twitter account, and he likes to ask her whether or not the ban list really is true. So I'm gonna wait to hear from him to make sure it's complete. Otherwise, I retooled my X Saber deck, and I'm just waiting for the March ban list to be confirmed before I repost that. I want to extend congratulations to the guy whose name I can't remember currently. Anyway, he went 7-1 in Miami with X Sabers. So props to him. On the subject of Vanguard, however, is what this video is concerned. This past weekend was the pre-release of Set 5, and it comes out next week everywhere officially. So I will be discussing the meta changes with that. Let's just get right into it. Basically, this is going to be what is the new meta and how are you going to be able to play against it. So the new meta is currently what people like to refer to as the cross rides. There's three of them. There's technically only two of them are cross rides, but there's still three that are mainly the ones we want to worry about. Is the first is Dragonic Overlord the End. The second is Phantom Blaster Overlord, and third is Majesty Lord Blaster. So what do all these cards have in common? Well, they all have Overlord the End and Phantom Blaster Overlord both have 11 base power. If you have Overlord the End, or if you have Dragonic Overlord in your soul, Overlord will gain 2,000 base power forever. And then if you have Phantom Blaster Dragon in your soul, Phantom Blaster Overlord will gain 2,000 power forever. And then Majesty Lord Blaster's ability is he's a base 10, and if you have Blaster Dark and Blaster Blade in the soul, he permanently gains 2,000 power and +1 critical. So basically the idea is that because these cards have their effects that go off continuously, they act as incredibly defensive vanguards. Just the fact that you have the 13 and 12k vanguards are incredibly hard to overcome. So the main point of this video is to figure out how can you overcome it, because the problem with a lot of those cards is, especially Majesty Lord and Overlord the End, is they're going to be hella expensive, like $30 cards probably. So rather than try and make either of those decks, I've devised kind of a way to work around it. Now, the previous meta was always, because the highest attack power of any Vanguard we ever had was 11k, the meta was that ideally, if you want to, it's like this. When your opponent hits grade 3, right, they draw a card for their turn, they get 2 cards from their twin drive. So not counting extra drawing effects, they get a +3 basic per turn. So ideally what your field would look like would be, you'd want to have one column swinging for 16k power, another rearguard column swinging for 16k power, and then your Vanguard should be swinging for at least 21. And that way it does three things. One, against a 11k Vanguard, it would force your opponent to drop either a perfect guard or 2 to 3 extra cards to stop your Vanguard attack if they needed to. And with the 16k rearguard columns, it would force your opponent to drop 1 or 2 cards on them every time. So if your opponent even took 1 damage during your turn, ideally they would drop 2 to 3 cards, which means that their net gain on their turn, which is the +2 from twin drive, +1 from drawing, will be negated, which is ideal for you. But the problem with cross rides is that with the 16, 21, 16, they only have to drop 1 card each on your rear guards, and a maximum of 2 on your Vanguard if they don't have perfect cards. So what I've devised is a kind of a way to analyze the clans based on which ones can and cannot compete against the cross rides. Now, keeping in mind that Majesty Lord is 12k all the time, and Overlords are 13k. So I'm going to go down the list and tell you which clans you should be doing and what you should be doing with them in order to compete with cross rides. The first is obviously Royal Paladin, but other than running, of course, Majesty Lord itself. The only good options you have are Palamedes, which is the 13,000 if you have 2 more grade 3s in play. Alfred doesn't even work, even though it's a consistent 20k. It doesn't hit for 3 stages. Unless you're running the Dragon Knight, what the heck is his name? Pendragon, which gains 5,000 power on the turn he's ridden. Nothing in your Vanguard circle can normally compete against any of the Overlords. Now, Palamedes boosted by Toy Poogle will swing for 22,000. That gets you to the 22 borderline when you need to hit over Majesty Lord Blaster, but it doesn't compete with the Overlord. So Royal Paladin has a lot of problems with that unless they're running Majesty Lord, and then it's not really that big a deal. What else is there for Royal Paladin? Because this is my clan, you know. Of course, the final turn Soul Saver is going to do it every time, but the thing is, you need to Soul Blast 5, and you normally only run 1 or 2 copies of Soul Saver anyway, so you're going to be able to do it once, maybe twice if you're lucky, unless you're using like my deck, which its job is to spam Soul Saver. So I mean, it's still not ideal because you're not going to be able to final turn with her anymore because your opponent's still going to only have to drop 2 cards each on your rear guards if you're not strong enough. Gold Paladins, yes, Gold Paladins probably the easiest time out of all of them because number 1 they have Garmor, which is a 15k booster if they have 4 more damage. Number 2 they have Ezel, which is a 15k if you have 5 rear guards, plus it gains whatever power it gets from its limit break. And then they have Pelennor and Spectral Duke, both of which can stand themselves depending on if Pelennor is called during the battle phase, it gets another twin drive, and you know Spectral Duke has his limit break. So yeah, Gold Paladins easily compete that. Also with a thing that Royal Paladin doesn't have that basically every other clan does is one of the easiest ways rather to go overcome cross ride is having a 10k Vanguard booster. For Gold Paladins, there's his Little Battler Kron and Charge Goal as well. Kron, if you have more rear guards than your opponent, Kron will gain 4,000 power when he attacks. When he's boosting a Vanguard, that means he's a 10k Vanguard booster. And Charge Goal, same thing. If he boosts Garmor and you Soul Blast 1, Garmor gains 5,000 power. So yeah, Vanguard boosters are always a good sign in any clan. If they have a 10k Vanguard booster of some kind, then they're probably going to be a good way to compete against it. Yeah, and Royal Paladin doesn't have any of those except for Wingle, which only works with Blaster Blade, and so what's a grade 2, it doesn't work, you know, you get the idea. Okay. Oracle Think Tank, yes, definitely yes. Amaterasu and Sakuya both have the ability to gain 4,000 power if you have 4 more cards in your hand, plus their Vanguard booster, Weather Girl Milk, gains an additional 4,000 power if you have 4 more cards in your hand, and then of course there's the Mochas and Silent Toms in there, and all that stuff. So basically, yes, you can make your columns work. Now, I'm going over the main Vanguard stuff because it's important. But really, you have to remember that some of these clans have to be able to hit those 18k rearguard columns, and the fact is that these two can. Yes, Gold Paladins have their Gigantic Destroyers and their Garmors and stuff, so you can even call Garmor to rearguard and boost that by a charge roll, and they'll still be able to hit 2021 easily. Oracles, like I said, Mocha, Wise Man, Battle Sister Glace if you're running Soulless. That's another thing about Soulless Oracles too, can actually pull this off because they have Coco who gains 3k if you have like cards in your 1 or less cards in your soul or something, and then of course Milk boosts her. So yeah, Oracles pull off pretty easily. Same with Golds, you know, they have the limit breaks. And then besides that, of course, Vivian. Well, maybe not Vivian, but if they have Bowmains, that boosted by your Gareth will hit 18. So that's good to hit with against the cross rides. And then of course there's a new guy coming out soon, Bagde Magus. If you have an Azel Vanguard, he gains 2,000, 3,000 power when he attacks, something like that. I don't know. It's pretty good. But Royal Paladin obviously doesn't have that problem with the rearguard columns. It'll be able to hit high numbers with Narhas and Palamedes. And then of course, but the main problem is they don't have a big Vanguard to do it. So yeah. Moving on to Angel Feather. I find that Angel Feathers are probably the easiest to compete with. Defensively, they have Metatron, and she gains power every time one of your cards is put into the damage zone. And if you're guarding with no seals and trading stuff out, it's pretty easily to get her up defensively. There's not a lot of rearguard power except for if you do the whole swap your damage 2 times in 1 turn. That means Metatron swings for 23 or 24. And then of course your rearguard Phoenixes, Calamity Flames will swing for big numbers as well. So Angel Feather has no problem. They also have a 10k Vanguard booster, but you know, doesn't really matter that much. Shadow Paladins, of course they do have Phantom Blaster Overlord. They have the Apocalypse Bat, which boosts the blaster unit by 10,000 booster. Also, they have Ildona. Ildona is really good. The problem being you have to activate her limit break in order to get her to swing for 23 or 24, depending on whether she's boosted by a 7k or 8k booster. So that's a problem. But other than that, their rear guard columns are really easy to make. So yeah, shadows don't really have that much of a problem. Kagero, of course, they have Overlord at the end, so that's nothing. Besides him, they also have Lawkeeper. Lawkeeper is my favorite way to compete with the Crossrise because you can stop him from intercepting number one, and number two, the Lawkeeper boosted by Ryopia gets him 23, which is perfect. And then you also have the ability to have either like Nehalims, Garps, and Bars in your rear guards, or you have Dulox, Arc Dragon, and Dragonic Executioner, and all those columns for 18 or higher. So those are ideal for that kind of a deck. Obviously, I like Kagero a lot. Narukami, same thing. They have all the vanilla stuff they need. Ryans, Ryos to prevent from intercepting. And plus, with Thunderbreak Dragon boosted by his own 10k Vanguard booster, it pulls it off. They don't pull it off nearly as well as Kagero or any of the other clans I've already mentioned because they only have one 10k Vanguard booster. And then they have Hex Cannon Wyvern, I guess, or Proton Bomber, whatever one it is. But it's good, yes. But if you really only use Photon Bomber and Wyvern when you have Vermilion in your Vanguard circle, and Vermilion doesn't swing for 23, he only swings for 11, so it's, it's better to have Thunderbreak as your Vanguard in that kind of a deck. Yeah, so obviously it doesn't do it as well. Tachikaze, same thing. Deathrex is a very good card. It swings for 15 when it attacks a Vanguard, which means that boosted by your Sonic Noah, which is the 8k vanilla, it'll be able to swing for your 23s and stuff. That'll be able to hit over it, and then what else is there? Oh yeah, the rear guards. There's Pachyphalos, there's Cannon Gear, lots of that stuff. It all hits for 18 if it's boosted by a 7 or 8k booster, so that's pretty good. Yeah, Tachikaze doesn't really have much of a problem against it. The one problem is getting the 8k booster for Deathrex. And then finally, Murakumo. I'm going to go on a limb here and say they probably will have a lot of problems. Their rearguard attackers are very weak. The only thing they have going for them is the fact that Mandala Lord's Persona Blast is very good against the cross rides and puts a shutdown to basically overload the end and Mandala Blast to overload like right there. So this video is running long. I'm going to cut it into 2 parts here. I'll go over the rest of the clans in my next video. And then, yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll be sure to link the next one in the description.